All right. Good morning, everybody. This is Samantha with Melco's application team, and I'm going to be going over, this is our DesignShop talk, where, let me first click on the post so I can see the questions. This is Samantha with Melco's application team. So this is our DesignShop talk, where we get together once a week to just answer any questions you might have on DesignShop or machine, whatever it may be. Okay, so good morning. I have only a few questions, so be sure to type them in on the event itself. Don't message it to Melco, I can't see those. Machine, whatever it may be. Hi in New Jersey, Marianne. So be sure to type in your questions on the post, and as I see them, hopefully I can answer them for you. So I'll start off with some of the ones that got sent in. And good morning in Arizona. I'm in Florida. So be sure to type in your questions on a little earlier over there. All right. So to start off with, this is one of the first questions we had was, is there a way to blend letters to be creative with names or initials? All right. So there's feedback. Oh no. This is one of the first questions we had was, is there a way to blend letters to be creative with? Is it gone? All right, I'm going to go back out of the feed. Is it gone now? Is that better? Yay, nay, someone? Need to mute my screen. How do I do that? Okay, it sounds good now. All right. Sorry about that. So I'm back to only seeing 4 comments. So if I'm looking shifty-eyed, it's because I'm looking over there to make sure I don't miss anything. Okay, sorry about that. All right, again, one of the first questions we had was this. Is there a way to blend letters so that you can get an effect like this? I just quick made an example that we'll do real quick together so you can see how it's done. But the same technique would be here. First off, what you need to do is kind of visualize how do you want everything to interlock, right? So what do you want to be on top? What do you want to be on the bottom? And for those sorts of things. So I'm going to go over to DesignShop. And all I did for this was create 2 letters. I just picked an S and a C, 'cause why not? So I just used the Deco block font, typed in an S, and then I duplicated that, moved it down to about where I wanted it. Good morning. And I changed that to a C. All right, so once I have these, this is the final thing I'm going to create, but I'm going to take this whole thing, copy and paste it, and just move it over. So we're going to mess with this one. So now I have my originals in case we need to go back and do it again. All right, so I'm going to work on these guys. So like I said first, you got to plan out what do you want on top, what do you want on the bottom, and that sort of thing. So if I'm looking at this, I'm going to have the C be on top and then below. So where I would want to split my S is somewhere over here. So if you look at kind of what I did is I split it right in this location so that I can move things around. So let's go ahead and do it. I'm going to take my S, I select it over here, right click, go to Operations, Convert to Wireframe. All that does is it makes it a wireframe column now. You can see it's a column 2 rather than a lettering. Okay, so now I can go split it. So I'm going to zoom in, and I want this leg of my S to sit on top of the C here. So I'm going to come over here, add a point close-ish to where I want it to go, and there. So I'm going to add 2 points. Now, if I click on one of them, hold my control key down, and then select the other one. Now I have these 2 points. You see they're now both black. From there, I can, over here on this lower icons, you'll see there's change element from one type to another, and then there's a circle cut in half. This is a level-dependent feature of DesignShop, but that's basically split element. So I'm going to split it, and now you'll see I've got my S split into 2 pieces, the top half and the bottom half. All right, so I want the bottom half of my S to be on top of the C. So I'm going to select that piece and drag it down over here to be on top of the C. So there's the C, there's that, and then there's the other half. Now you'll see it broke it when I split it. And that's because the stitch direction lines went haywire. So I've got to fix this part by selecting the shape, coming over here to insert stitch direction, and I'm just going to add a stitch direction until it looks about right. Okay, so you can add more or less. So let's see what we have. I'm going to merge all my colors together. If you're not familiar with merging, you can use it by using these arrows, or you can just hold the shift key down. So I'm going to select the top all the way to the bottom while I'm holding the shift key down. And now they're all selected. Over here I can choose whatever color I want it to be. Wow, that's not a good color. Let's do that one. All right, and then I can update auto trims. And now let's see what we got. So it's kind of there, except these are all touching, so there's no reason we shouldn't have a continuous sew out. All right, so over here I've got, you'll see it starts here, it ends there. Well, that's not really what we want to do. I want it to start here and end down here, right? So I can move my starts and stops by selecting on the element, and if I choose my insert entry exit points, I can do insert exit. Now I need to get to my C. So again, we can move starts and stops around. So I can put my start there, move my stop point over here, and then this guy, I need my start here. So all I'm doing is rearranging my starts and stops. So again, if I update my trims now, so let's see if we got rid of it. If I update trim, it's not quite gone, and that's probably because my properties are set up, so that's too much of a jump. So really, it's just a puzzle at this point of how do you, someone asked level dependent function, which level is it? I'm using Pro Plus. I believe it's a Pro feature that you have to have. Okay, so like I said, with the puzzle, here's my S. I ended here. I can actually do a walk stitch, walk it around to about, let's say here. All right, and then make my C start where it originally was starting. Update my auto trims, and now you'll see it's all connected. There's no trims between everything we just made. How would you do this without the tool is what someone asked. All right, so that's, you can still do it. It's not quite as easy, but let's look at it. All right, so if you'd have to have artwork that you'd be able to trace so you would know what you're doing. So like if you're trying to create this, and you know I want this on top, I know I want to split it about here, so you've kind of thought about the order of operations of how you want it to go. Well, rather than taking the lettering tool, you would have to use artwork of some sort, whether it be a vector. So I'm going to pretend I'm going to convert, yeah, I'm going to convert to nope, not to wireframe. I'm going to object operations, convert to vector. Okay, so let's say I had this as a vector. Okay, so if you don't have vector features within your software so that you can't convert over, what you would do is go create you'd have to digitize it from scratch. So I'd start with my column, and just so we can see these, I'm going to give them different colors. Not that we're going to do that, just so we can see the different pieces. All right, so let's start with this guy. I'm going to go do a column 1, and remember column 1 is always pairs of points. You go from one side to the other. So I would just digitize this from scratch. I'd start here, left click, you always start with left clicks, and now I'm going to right click around my S, going from the side I started on to the other side. When I get here, we do a left click, because now I'm going into the, I did left clicks too soon. So if you want to undo that, you hit backspace, and now I can go back to my right clicks, and now let's try a left click there. Okay, so all I'm doing is creating my S, essentially, this first blue segment. And it's always pairs of points as you wrap around with the column 1 tool. Okay, so this is, I'm just digitizing the lettering. So why don't we go to, no, back. I want to go to here. Okay, so I hit enter to end that shape. I'm going to switch over to my walk input, and now I'm going to walk up here. All right, now I go again using a column 1, deep, deep. So left click to start on each side, and again I'm going from side 1 to side 2. Right click on side 1, right click on side 2, and you work your way around your letter C. And I'm not being the most careful about where I'm putting my points. You can make it look cleaner by paying a little more attention. Okay, so that one, it started there, it ended there. Well, I don't want it to end there. I want it to end over here so that I'm closer to this last little piece I need to do. So all I did was move my end point. So now I can come back and do another column, picking up where I left off on this S with my left clicks and right clicks to end it up. Here. Okay. So if you don't have vectors, you have to digitize it all from scratch. Basically, you would go create the artwork you want and then just plan your way through it. Work your way using your different tools, making sure you're paying attention to your starts and stops, because that's what's going to avoid the excessive trims in there. It's never fun where it sews a piece, it does a trim, it goes over here, it sews something, does a trim, comes back. I mean, you can optimize your sew outs. Yeah. So just put in another one as convert to wireframe, and then you can go use the plus or minus to make sure you have those overlaps on there. Okay, let's see what else. All right, so that was this one. The next one, we actually had 2 separate questions, both related, so I grouped them together. One said, how did we do that decorative chain stitch? So I'll show you how we create it again. And then another question came in saying, hey, the decorative chain stitch that's in DesignShop is huge. Is there a small one? Well, you have to create a small one. So I have this up here. You can screenshot it if you want to be able to trace it. So that way you'll have something to trace artwork wise. Let's go to DesignShop, and I'm going to go open that one. Okay. This is the little piece that it was zoomed in on. So this creates a little chain stitch, okay? The size of it is very small. You can see the grid lines up here, okay? If you go ahead and measure across it, what you'll see from point 1 to point 2 is it's, 20 points across, and it's only 2 or 4 points large. So it's a relatively small shape. How you create it is you go to your walk input tool. All right, and I always pick up the point, the red line, so I have something easy to see. That's your 0. And down here, notice I have an X and Y coordinate. All right, so you can verify that you're actually on 0 by looking down there. You can see I have X29, Y0. All right, so I'm starting on 0. That's important when you're creating decoratives. Come across, again, 29 to 51, it's, you can do the math, but roughly you're coming over here, and again, I do another left click. I come back a little bit, a few points past where I started. Right there, I'm going to do another left click. This is again 2 points down below the line this time, and now I want to make sure I come and stop back on the 0. So down at the bottom, you'll see it says Y0. So I'm going to left click there, hit enter to close my shape. I have all kinds of stuff turned on by default, so I'm going to turn all these off for the moment. Okay. So now I've got this little thing created, okay, that I just drew. So now what you would do is select it. So you click on what you drew, right click, go to Save Custom Shapes, type in what you want it to be called. If you want to test it first, this is just a habit I've gotten into a long time ago. You can name it different things. I just don't like cluttering up my list with a whole bunch of things that I'm not sure if I even like them. So I always use test, tell it to be a decorative, and say okay. And because I use this all the time, it says file exists, replace it. Of course, replace it. All right, so now I can go create new decorative, change it to my test one, draw it, and see how it came out, see if I liked it. If I want to make changes to it, now I can, change, go back to that thing I drew down here, make whatever changes I wanted, and try again. Okay, But that is the little chain stitch. So if I put that at 0, just so I can give you guys dimensions. Just so you helps if I hit the right key and not the Windows key. There we go. All right. So I'm going to draw it again just for fun. Start at 0. I'm going to go to roughly 21 over and 2 up. Back to, let's say, 2 over and back on the 0. Back to 21, 22. Back to 0. There. Okay. And then again, I don't want all those knots, so I'd have to turn all that mess off. But anyway, that is how it's done. All right, and make sure you so you click on Input Walk, change this to normal if you have been doing something else, and then draw the shape you want. All right, any questions on that? So that's the decorative, the tiny decorative chain stitch. All right. Capstone angles, how to make them shorter. This question, I wasn't quite sure what it was being asked, but I took a swing at it. I think, and if this isn't it, let me know and I'll answer it again in a different way. But I think what was being asked is how, when you have text, either, I didn't know if you meant slanted or at a true angle. I assume that's what this is referring to, is actual dealing with letters, how to make these stay capitals but be smaller than the others. So when you type in text, again, if you're not familiar with how to do text, use the lettering tool, you type in whatever text you want, hit enter, voila, you have some text. All right. If you want it to be angled like this, so at a slant, so like it's an italicized, you can double click on it, and right here you have slant. You can make that be whatever angle you want, and keep in mind you can do negative numbers too, so if you want to make it look like, you know, a race car, put some wheels on it or something, you can do that by doing a negative slant. Okay, and you can go as large or as small of a slant italicized that you want to do. All right. Now, if you want to make adjustments to individual letters, how do you do that? Well, first you select the element that you want to modify by just clicking on it. After there, these little black X's are the individual letters. When you select them, notice it's allowing me to scale or rotate them. Right now, the black handles indicate that scale. So if I just grab the handle and drag it around, you can see I can do all kinds of silly things with this. If I hold the Shift key, it locks the proportions of it, so then I can scale it, keeping it, you know, proportional rather than, you know, scaling it X and Y differently. All right. You don't have to do each letter individually. You can hold the Control key down. So let's say I want to do AN together. If I hold the Control key while I click on those black X's, now they'll scale together. Okay. If you have if the wording is rotated as well, it's no different. But just remember, if you hold the Shift key, that locks proportions. Okay, so let's say you're trying to do a drop case of some sort. You want this letter bigger, and maybe you want it off the baseline. All right, so in that case, I have to hold the Control key, because if I just select this letter, notice it locks it. It won't let me move up and down. It's only going side to side along that baseline. If I hold my Control key, that allows me to drop it down. So maybe I want it to be, you know, like a storybook type thing. I don't know. Control key lets me adjust it up and down off the baseline. Okay. So if that wasn't what your question was asking about, I apologize. Let me know and we'll get the actual question answered. But like I said, I wasn't quite sure what was meant by that one. How to make them shorter. Like I said, I assume that meant the actual height of them, like scaling. All right, so we had a few OS-ish like questions. Basically, I have a line of, I sewed something out. I forgot some letters. I added them, but I want to fast forward through the design to go to a different spot without sitting there, you know, holding the forward button and waiting, right? So how do you do that? So first off, you got to know where you want to go. So let's say, well, let's pretend this is what I'm sewing. It's an 8,000 stitch design, and I only want to do this guy again. Well, it's all one color, or it's a second color. So all I'd have to do to get to this one is go Tools, Settings. So from the OS, which I don't have on this computer, you go Tools, Settings. On there, there's a bunch of tabs. If you click on Move, you can move to stitch or you can move to color. So in that case, you go to the box next to where it says color, hit 2, so because you're going to move to color 2, hit move to color. It'll advance through design and move the machine to that location for color 2. Now, if let's say you wanted it to just be, you want to start at the L, all right, well, that's not a color. I need to know what stitch that is. If you select what you're trying to get to, and then right here, click on the Stitches tab in DesignShop. Actually, I apologize. So I'm going to come over here, turn it on to expanded point, click on an actual stitch. So let's say I want to start there. All right. On the Stitch tab, it goes to what stitch number that is. So that's stitch 7526. So now I know what stitch I want to go to. So rather than going move to color, now from the OS, I go, actually, am I still connected to the OS? Yeah, kind of. All right. So Tools, Settings, Move. Right here, I've got stitch number, color number. I'd go type in whatever color I want to go to and say move to color. If I have stitch number, I type in what stitch number I want to and say move to stitch. So I was logged into my machines to get screenshots for y'all. Okay, so this is how you, in DesignShop, that's how you find what stitch you're actually going to. All right, this one, again, I wasn't quite, if you want me to actually show you how to hoop the Gen 2, I'm not set up to be able to do that right now. But I can, if you're asking how to get the hoop on your software, I can show you that. So from the OS, and this is why I was logged in, you would go to Tools, Hoop Setup. Under that, that'll bring you to this Hoop Manager. You would click on your Customize Hooplets button, and when you do that, this box pops up. And then you go find the frame. It's the red Gen 2 frame is the one that you're looking at. If you have an older version of the software, it actually might be on there as Dream Frame. So it's just depends if you've got an updated hoop list or not. So if you haven't updated your hoop list in a long time, it probably says Dream Frame and not Red Gen 2. So you would put a check mark next to that, and then hit OK, apply OK, and that gets out of your hoop setup. From there, on the right side of the screen where you go choose your hoop, you would just click on, you'd click on that, come select either the Dream Frame or the Red Gen 2, and that will make it appear there. All right. The other half of that question is, the design I have doesn't let me do center out. Is it okay to sew? Yes, yes and no, right? So it really depends on the design. Typically, when you're digitizing for a hat, you want to plan out all your stitches so it goes center out, bottom to top. And that's just, it's going to make a better product in the end for most designs, because you're pushing away from things that can't move. What you don't want to do is like start at the top of the hat and push down towards the brim, because if that fabric of the hat starts shifting or moving, where's it going? Well, it's pushing so that you'll end up with, you know, a bump down by the brim that it couldn't go anywhere while it was sewing. All right. Same thing with center out. The center seam tends to go nowhere. There's so much buckram in there, the folded over fabric, that it's for all intents and purposes rigid, right? So you want to go kind of sew away from that. So if you're moving fabric, it's pushing out to where no one's going to see it anyway, right? So while you can put any design and the machine will sew it, so you don't have it to sew center out, you can try it. Just keep in mind that your highest quality hats are always going to be center out, bottom to top. Okay, so you just need to think about that. In general, it's always better to let your digitizer know that you're going to need it for both left chest and hat. So they'll give you 2 files. So they'll reconfigure it so that it's close to center out, bottom to top. So it's optimized for a hat. Okay. Now, of course, if you don't have it, it's, you know, I'm always one for trying things, so I'll often go and add the hoop, sorry, just try it out, sew it on a hat, and go, did it work? Did it not? If it worked, why not? Go for it. But just keep in mind, if you're struggling with registration or you're seeing, it's shifting to one side or another, you might need to redo the design so it goes center out. How do we add the Mighty Hoop 10 by 19 to DesignShop in the Bravo machine? You would need to update your hoop list. If you go to, let's see if I can do it and show you. There is on the website, so let's see, if I go to milcoservice.com, well, I know it's over under the fast clamp. Where's the fast clamp? There it is. So fast clamp, and then down here, hoop installation program. I know you can do it there by following that. Another one is, I'm pretty sure under the FAQ, they have instructions on how to update hoop list. Let's see. I don't know where it is right now, but I'll find the link to the FAQ. Obviously the search key I used didn't work, but I'll find it and post it for you so you can see how to add the Mighty Hoops. But with the Bravo, you need to get it updated that way. You can go create your own hoops in DesignShop, but I'm pretty sure they're all done already, so you just need to go update your hoop list, because otherwise you'd have to go to Tools, Hoop Setup, and then you would add a hoop and basically create a new one. Okay, so I'll find the FAQs that give you the step-by-step to that, and just type in the link when I get off of this. Okay, any other questions? No? All right. Well, those were all the questions I had sent in. So remember to email your questions to applications@milco.com, or to type them in on these while we're live. We'll try to get them answered the best we can. I will, as soon as I get off, I'll look for the link and post that for you on the hoops, how to get your hoop list updated. All right, well, if there are no other questions, everyone have fun sewing. I know our city's kind of going nuts over here, so everything's starting to shut down, so be safe, wash hands, I guess, and I will talk to you guys next time. Have fun sewing.